one of the many posters seen across the rest of the UK. The point it's making is if we use less fuel, we use less energy and produce less of the greenhouse gases like CO2 that are affecting climate change. But do not see the adverts or hear the message here. And that's because our Environment Minister, Sammy Wilson, doesn't accept that carbon dioxide from our cars, our houses or our power stations is influencing climate change. Government concerns over the human influences on climate change are such that it set up a special department last year, the Department of Energy and Climate Change. It was hardly up and running when it received a letter from Sammy Wilson. And Mr Wilson didn't pull his punches. He told the Minister for Energy and Climate Change that he does not believe that man-made greenhouse gas emissions are the main cause of climate change. Sammy Wilson claims that the campaign promotes anthropogenic or man-made climate change as gospel. And as you are no doubt aware, this is contrary to my views.
We're just going out, Mum.
Have a nice time.
Do you want some help, Mrs Harris?
No, it's all right, lad. I've got it covered.
Yeah, you've gone all green since we got that heating bill, haven't you, Dad?
Might as well have chucked one.
Mr Wilson explained that the campaign hadn't been cleared or agreed with him first, and he didn't wish to have the Whitehall message promoted in Northern Ireland.
I love this world.
Most UK homes don't have the recommended amount of insulation. By properly insulating...
He advised that the UK's Act on CO2 message could only be used here with his permission, and explained that this rule even applied to local government-funded organisations like the Carbon Trust, whose specific role, ironically, is to carry such messages. And to make absolutely sure we don't see the message here in any shape or form, Mr Wilson has told the Climate Change Department that the message mustn't even leak over to us in Northern Ireland. Leakage must be minimised using postcode lockouts. He also warned that any additional cost to stop the message reaching Northern Ireland would have to be paid for by Westminster. The additional cost this may incur would have to be paid for by Whitehall, he said. Central government told BBC Newsline that it has no doubt that human behaviour affects climate change and that it's already committed to a campaign guided by scientific evidence and the most up-to-date information. Today, Environment Minister Sammy Wilson has been standing his ground.
I had said to the Department of Energy and Climate Change, let's sit down and design an advert which we're all comfortable with. They decided that they wanted to pump out New Labour propaganda, and I decided, well, they could do that in England if they wanted, but since the Labour Party don't even stand in Northern Ireland, they're not going to use the Northern Ireland administration as a platform for it.
So where does this leave people who deal with things like carbon dioxide emissions and climate change? They'll be puzzled by the picture. Why am I here in this specific place? Because this is a house that has to deal with the problem, because it's a carbon zero home. The people who've designed this house are trying to make sure no carbon dioxide goes into the air. And there'll be lots of people out there in business and industry wondering, well, what is the policy here in Northern Ireland? They'll have been watching what's been going on today. Let's get that point of view from one person, John Woods of Friend of the Earth. John, I mean, you've been watching it today. What did you make of it all?
Yes, Mike, I've been looking at interviews and listening to interviews that Sammy Wilson's been given today. And I think interviewers and listeners are all incredulous that he's been going against the global scientific and political consensus. And frankly, I think it's become a bit of an embarrassment to the people of Northern Ireland.
But it has at least opened up the argument about climate change. Has that been useful? Well,
no, there is no argument on climate change. The science is settled, and Sammy Wilson needs to recognise that. He's not just damaging our reputation, but he's actually damaging our economy. We really need to get to grips with low-carbon living, just like this house is, and people that can see the economic opportunities, and he's actually closing those down.
His party leader, Peter Robinson, has said that while he supports Sammy Wilson, that Mr Wilson has the right to say what he said. He also says that the DUP are still backing climate change. It's still part of their policy. Does that make it clearer for you?
Well, it just goes to show that Sammy Wilson is now an embarrassment to Peter Robinson as well. And I think really as party leader, he needs to use his judgment on this one and get someone in that role who really wants to take it seriously.
OK, John, thanks very much. Now, just to clear up one other point, earlier today, Sammy Wilson said that the Scottish executive had also refused to run the adverts that we saw earlier. Well, the Scottish executive contacted BBC Newsline and they told us that they hadn't refused to run the adverts. It's simply they have an advertising campaign of their own about climate change, and that's why they're not running the ones that we've seen. Back to you.